Picture this, the remote village of Virali. It's a dark and stormy night, and the wind is just howling, like the sky itself is screaming. The streets are empty, a temple bell is swinging all on its own, and deep inside, something ancient is stirring. This is a story about a sacred promise, a very angry guardian, and what happens when an entire village breaks its vow. And it all kicked off with a sign.
These are the chilling words of the village priest, Ganesh Rao, on that very night. And the sign he's talking about? Yeah, it just happened. You see, there's a sacred lamp in the temple that's been burning for centuries, and it just went out, all on its own. Something is very, very wrong.
And really, that's the question that this whole story boils down to, because we're not talking about just any old god here. This is the Rekindar, the protector, and when a guardian that was literally born from sacrifice feels betrayed, well, the consequences are beyond terrifying. So first, let's unpack who, or maybe what, this thing really is.
Okay, so to really get what's happening in the present, we've got to go back, way back. We need to look at the legend that shaped this village's entire belief system. And this isn't some happy little fairy tale. It's the story of a man who became something else, something bound by ash and a very serious promise.
So the Rekindar wasn't created through some kind of miracle. It was an act of pure desperation. Ages ago, this demonic spirit was just tearing Virali apart. People were disappearing, kids were getting hurt, death was everywhere. A sage named Druvnath showed up, and after 7 straight days of intense penance, he faced the demon. In this insane battle, he did the unthinkable. He fused his own soul with the demon, trapping it by becoming its living prison of ash, all to protect the village forever.
And that's what makes the Rekindar so different, you see. It's not a god you just pray to for good fortune. It's a bound spirit, a supernatural warden. The sacred ash that coats the temple walls, that is its physical form. And in exchange for its eternal protection, the village made a pact, one animal sacrifice every single year, to keep its power in check. A pact that had never, ever been broken, until now. And this, right here, is where our story takes a really dark turn. A tradition that's hundreds of years old is about to slam headfirst into a new, modern way of thinking. And it's about to set off a chain of events that will drown the entire village in fear.
So you've got this clash of two worlds. On one side, there's the priest, Ganesh Rao. He totally gets the terrifying reality of the Rekindar's vow. He's trying to warn everyone that this is a bound spirit, not some kind god who's just going to forgive and forget. But on the other side, you have Shankar Rao, the newly elected village head. He's educated in the city, and he just dismisses the whole legend as superstition. You know, stories for kids. He thinks it's time for the village to progress.
And just like that, the new Sarpanch gets his way. For the first time since the Rekindar was literally created from a man's soul, the ritual is canceled, the sacred vow is broken, and the village just goes about its business, completely unaware that they've just woken up a fury that has been sleeping for centuries. The deal was simple. Protection in exchange for a promise. But the village? They broke their end of the bargain. And now they're about to find out exactly what happens when a guardian's vow goes unkept. The response is immediate, and it is horrifying. It all starts when that lamp goes out. That very same night, a man named Vital is found dead. His body is rigid and there's a smear of ash on his lips. The next morning, livestock are found dead in the fields with these weird burn-like marks on them. Then, at night, people start hearing these creepy, wet footsteps coming from the village well. And then, the absolute worst thing imaginable happens. A child vanishes into thin air.
Amidst all this chaos, a terrifying signature starts to emerge. At every single scene, whether it's a death or some other strange event, the villagers find the same calling card, the number 3. 3 lines drawn in ash, or 3 ashen handprints left on a victim's body. This is not random. It's a message.
And this was the terrifying climax of the Rekindar's warning. Shankar Rao, the very man who called it all superstition, is found dead. The official cause of death is a heart attack, but the villagers, they know the truth. Because right there on his face, clear as day, are 3 ashen handprints, as if the spirit itself reached out and tore the life right out of him.
So the man who called it all nonsense is dead, and the village is gripped by absolute terror. They have no choice left. They have to face the entity they've woken up and beg for mercy. And this leads to one final, horrifying confrontation.
The priest gathers everyone he can, and they all make their way to the temple.
The air is thick with this strange, heavy haze, and they can feel the ground literally trembling. They walk into the temple, a place that used to be a sanctuary but now feels like a tomb, to plead their case to the spirit they have so badly offended.
Inside the temple, the air just goes ice cold. A young boy named Deepak, the priest helper, suddenly collapses. But when he gets up, his eyes are rolled back into his head, and a voice that is absolutely not his own, a voice that is deep and ancient and filled with rage, booms from his mouth. "You have broken my vow." The Rakandar is speaking through him.
And through this boy, the spirit lays out its ultimatum. It reminds them of the soul that was sacrificed to keep them safe, a sacrifice they repaid with arrogance. It demands the vow be honored again. The choice is brutally simple. Restore the annual sacrifice, or the Rakandar will wipe Varoli off the face of the map.
Well, you can bet they agreed. The spirit recedes, and this uneasy quiet settles over the village. But the story doesn't just end there. The warning, it lingers, like a permanent shadow hanging over them all.
So, they bring back the annual tradition, but with a modern twist. Instead of sacrificing a goat, they now offer a coconut. A new pact is made, a fragile truce between an ancient belief and their new, modern world.
But the priest, Ganesh Rao, he knows the danger hasn't passed. The Rakandar wasn't defeated, it was just pacified. And his final warning hangs over the village like a death sentence. The protector is not gone, he is just sleeping.
And that's the final, chilling thought here. Varagrale found a compromise, but their peace is balanced on a knife's edge. This story is so much more than a local legend. It's a stark reminder of that tension between the past and the present. And it leaves us all with one haunting question. What happens when the next generation decides to forget?